3 of the Lunchroom. I'm your host, Calix George Jr. Now, in addition to 101.1 FM radio, you can get us at our website, rcistlucia.com, and we are also streaming live on Facebook. You just have to search for the official page of Radio Caribbean International. And please be sure to like and share that as well with your friends and family. Now, of course, if you want to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, the number to do so is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. And we also have a WhatsApp number that is 724-0008. You can call in or you can message in on WhatsApp, whatever you so prefer. And again, that number 724-0008. And of course, don't forget the area code. Now, birthdays for today. I want to send out some birthday greetings to my niece, Svetlana Johnson. Happy birthday to you, Sveti. And we do hope that you're having a fantastic birthday celebration. And it is also the birthday of Chanel Gomez. Happy birthday to you. And we're wishing you a wonderful birthday indeed. A bit of history for the day. Back on this day, March the 21st of 1349, during the Black Death Massacre, between 103,000, that was the estimate, of Jews were killed in Black Death riots in Erfurt, Germany. And that was a part of a wave of pogroms across Western Europe. In the year 1804, the Napoleonic Code is adopted in France, stressing clearly written and accessible law. 1871 on this day saw the journalist Henry Morton Stanley beginning his famous expedition to Africa. I'm not sure if that's where we got Flat Stanley from, maybe. 1975, Ethiopia abolished its monarchy after 3,000 years of existence. In the year 2013 on this day, the European Space Agency revealed new data indicating that the universe is approximately 13.82 billion years old. And 2014 on this day, Russia formally annexed Crimea amid international condemnation. And 2024 on this day, back on March 21st, Elon Musk's Neuralink company posted a video of a patient playing chess online using a brain implant. We now move on to our dish of the day. The daily dish is brought with the kind compliments of our good friends at Tiles Plus.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. This all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasware and vanity. Box, doors, you'll see. Come down to my nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Grocery Lane, and Slack Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. And of course, we've made it to the end of the week. And so we do hope that it's been a good and productive week thus far. From the looks of things, of course, work continues on the West Coast Road, and that has been definitely an area of disturbance for a lot of the residents along the West Coast communities of ancillary canneries, as well as Soufrière, who certainly depend on that road as their principal artery to get back and forth. In some instances, there's almost no choice. Communities like Ancillary, for example, it's one road to the north, one to the south, and it's that same West Coast road. Albeit, you might argue that there's a Venus Valley Road that heads up the Ancillary Valley, but that is somewhat precarious in some areas and pretty narrow. not much of an alternative. And certainly in the case of canneries, there is no other alternative, right? There's no other way in and out of that community. The valley road that heads up the Canneries Valley is definitely a dead end, only heading towards some waterfalls. And so it certainly is a matter that those communities have had to be putting up with in terms of the roadworks and the ongoing challenges, of course, in terms of ensuring that those can be completed in quick order, because roadworks are inevitably very much the type of activity that cause a lot of difficulty. You have implications in terms of the dust and the noise, and of course the difficulty in terms of the road surface not being the best, and that could be risky as well for motorists and pedestrians alike. And then, of course, the issue of delays. So, of course, it has not been a very enjoyable time for those individuals who depend on that road. A lot of visitors coming in via cruise, and a number of these people are looking to do these day tours, these excursions. We've got some beautiful weather right now, certainly, which makes it lovely to go on these tours. And of course, Soufrière has been one of those very, very important, the go-to place for a person coming to St. Lucia to be able to enjoy the scenery and the beauty of the Petors and the Sulphur Springs and the many other parts of that wonderful World Heritage site, the Petors Management Area. But of course, to get there tends to be a challenge, and of course, lots of people do use the West Coast, go down the coast along the water, whether by catamaran or some other form of tour boat. But of course, there is still that dependence on the land-based routes as well. So we really do hope that the powers that be, the contractor can really push to get as much work in as possible. Given the onset of the dry season, hopefully we can see some good progress in that regard. Of course, just recently, the Member of Parliament for Ancillary Canneries posted on his Facebook page work ongoing in getting the temporary bypass bridge up across the Ancillary River, so as to allow for commencement of works continuing the commencement of the works on the what is going to be the new Ancillary Bridge. Now, many of you would recall that bridge has been around since the excuse me, 1980, in the aftermath of Hurricane Allen. That was placed, Bailey Bridge was placed in that location, as well as in Canneries. And they were supposed to be temporary bridges, and they seem to have lasted quite a long time as the main routes in and out of both Ancillary and Canneries across those rivers. And so, finally, a permanent bridge, if you like, as permanent as human beings can build them, I suppose. Bridges do have a lifespan, and that one is being constructed currently. And so that is, of course, really important in terms of the resilience of our infrastructure, the reliability of our infrastructure in the face of potential natural disasters. So, excuse me. So definitely that is something that we would like to see happen, so that hopefully there can be some relief by the next cruise season, especially when you've got lots of those vehicles on the road. And of course, Soufrière and Ancillary and Canneries are already becoming a very important destination for stayover visitors. Lots of people are now staying down in Soufrière. You've got a booming Airbnb trade going on down there, and of course a number of our islands high-end hotels are in fact located in that area as well. So certainly for them, really, really important to have good connectivity. And the work ongoing on the Soufrière Forcé-Jacques Road, I think should also get a very special mention, because that's also a really critical link. We know, of course, as I mentioned, that you certainly do need to have alternatives. You've got to have some what is known as redundancy in the system, right? And that Soufrière Forcé-Jacques Road is a really important road, not just for the people of Forcé-Jacques, of course, who were required to get into Soufrière, but also for the potential to connect into further on down the Southwest Coast Highway via Belle Plaine and into Myers Bridge. So certainly the upgrading of that road is very, very timely and welcome. And let's hope that also it is well built. Now, let's end here our dish of the day. And when we come back, we will take in some calls.
This has been The Daily Dish.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A plus. Need all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasware and vanity. Boss, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bossy Brazil, and Flag Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. And of course, the number to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, it is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. Another minister posting on his Facebook page is that of the Minister of Tourism, Honorable Ernest Hilaire, and pointing out to a particular TV series, which seems to be pretty popular among some circles, and asking, did you watch season 14, episode 16 of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills? The ladies explored some of the best of St. Lucia with a private rum tasting experience with Chairman's Reserve rum, sailing along the Caribbean Sea with sea spray cruises, St. Lucia, and ending the night with a spectacular dinner at Windjammer Landings. And he puts bravo. Let's take a call at this time. Good afternoon. Welcome to the lunchroom. And what's on your plate today? Hello. Good afternoon. Hi, caller. How are you?
Not too bad.
Wonderful.
Right. Now, you said there's no alternative for ancillary and canaries. But before time is by the sea. There was no go-through.
Right.
You had to travel by sea.
Yes.
And we have boats taking people. And so instead we keep it. We just when the road open, we just abandon it. We keep it saying traffic on the road.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a big sea there where we could travel by sea up to Rifford.
Mm-hmm. Well, I meant no land alternative, but you're very, very correct about the in my view as well. I agree with you that it should be beyond just having the charters, right? You have the catamarans which go down, they do the boat rides, and they go down.
Expensive. That's expensive.
But exactly, but it's expensive. But we don't actually have a scheduled ferry service. West Coast ferry service that could potentially do maybe Marigold, then ancillary, and then Canaries, and then Soufrière, right? I think that would be very attractive as well for visitors as well as nationals.
I will pinpoint for you where it is. They have it, and it's very, very, very. Curacao have some beautiful iron ferry. And those people, they don't travel by road. They'll buy a monthly pass or a weekly pass or a day ticket. And they travel by the ferry, and it have schedule what time it'll come in, what time it will leave, and you know exactly. If you have a bit early, you do your shopping and you come back, and you know exactly what the time that boat will be leaving. It's not even like our bus, those buses we have here. You don't know when you're going to reach home.
Yeah, and I think it's something that in some ways could certainly help these communities to actually bring visitors into the towns and bring persons who are, of course, wanting to, do their business back and forth for work and whatnot as well. So the idea of, I mean, these towns were designed because they needed to be on the water, right? And the center of the towns really have been the jetty, the landing point.
Yeah.
And so, in fact, there was a point where, remember, we didn't even have some of those jetties had long disappeared. The one in Canaries had to be rebuilt.
Yeah,
It's been rebuilt. I think they're actually supposed to be doing some more work on it to improve the access for the fishermen because of the height of it and whatnot. But then I think definitely there is that possibility
to
be able to.
Ancillary? Is Ancillary got a jetty? Because
yes, there's a jetty in Ancillary.
Okay, because they had jetty for those boats. Ancillary, Canaries, Soufrière, Trezel, and some go all the way down to Briefort.
Yes, so as of now, the only place that doesn't have a jetty outright is Choiseul. But then they have one, and in fact, I think there's some work that's being done on it to clear the mouth of the entrance. There's a fish landing port.
Yeah.
But they've had some. Labrie has a jetty. In fact, the Labrie,
because they all had the jetty, because the boat, that's where the jetty it anchor. People come in and going out.
In fact, the jetty at Labrie has certainly been a significant success story. In that it then, once it was built, it then allowed for a number. It became a very attractive area for yachties, if you want to call them that, or yachtsmen, yachters to come by and drop anchor and stay in the bay, and so that actually has helped Labrie in that regard. It's become a very attractive locale. People see it as a very picturesque coastal town. Has a little feel of, maybe, how I think is it Port Elizabeth in Beckway. It has a kind of little vibe to it, I suppose. And and a lot of people want to actually, a lot of yachtsmen enjoy that area. So the jetty has helped, yes, in that regard. In terms of Labrie.
I can see that would have helped the traffic in Castries a lot if we could go back to some of those, we call them coasting boats.
Yes. Well, there have been proposals. There's a proposal, I think, that was done once for looking at the the northern link from Castries to Grosley, right? But that has it's in principle, it sounds like something that's good, but then the challenge with it, though, is the distance is actually not, it's kind of more direct to actually go by land.
You see? In the UK, if you take the UK, you have Isle of Wight, Isle of Man,
right,
and those places there, and they're surrounded by water, just like us.
Right, and in those instances, you've got no choice. Well, right, but in those instances, you have no choice. You've got to go by boat.
You have no choice.
No choice.
But it's the ferry they use to bring people in, take people out, bring shopping in, and all those things.
Yeah, and I think in the islands that, or the states that have multiple islands, they've certainly kept their ferry services, obviously, because they need them. So in St. Vincent, they maintain, ferries to all the Grenadine
All
Islands.
the Grenadines, yeah.
In
Definitely.
Grenada, they've got their ferry service to go up to Carriacou and to Petit Martinique.
Union
In
and all those places there.
I'm not sure if the Grenada one goes to Union, but the Vincentian one, yes, it goes to Union.
Yeah, well, Union Commander St. Vincent.
Right.
so
Trinidad
it will
has
go up to Union, and Union is a very developed island.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Union. I'm sorry. Trinidad has kept theirs with Tobago, of course. In fact, they've got some very modern.
It's a must as well. It's a must. It's Trinidad and Tobago.
And for the moving of vehicles, they've got some very large ferries.
Well, the ferry is those big ferry they have in Port of Spain going to cargo.
Yes, that's correct. In fact, I think those ferries, those large catamarans, I think they originally came from Australia. I think that's where they purchased those. Martinique has as well. So they provide ferry services to between Fort-de-France and Toisillé.
Well, you just buy a big boat. They call it. I forget how they call it there. Martinique just have a big boat, almost like a tourist boat.
Well, I think Express des Îles, which is based in Guadeloupe, they have I think expanded their fleet. I think there's been an acquisition of the company. I can't remember the name of the company that acquired it, but I think they did some expanding of their fleet. So and of course that has helped us tremendously over the years since l'Express des Îles has come in with the service between the Francophone islands. In fact, we should mention that yesterday was International Francophone or Francophonie Day.
Well, I talked to Miss Michael Chasney a long time ago, and I suggest a ferry to Barbados, but he told me it's very hard to put a ferry from St. Lucia to Barbados because the Atlantic Ocean, the sea is so rough. You don't know how they would travel on that side there, but nobody haven't tried. I keep watching to see who's going to try it because it's a very rough sea.
Yeah, it is a very challenging undertaking, and because of the Atlantic and the currents. In fact, I remember speaking with a relative of Mr. Chasney, Mr. Morplaisy, sorry. And of course, there's a family connection because of the boating business.
The Chasney and Morplaisy,
the boating business,
they intermarried,
right? And so and of course, Mr. Kenneth Morplaisy QC or KC now, and he was actually relating, the route that was used and how they had to navigate to get to Barbados, because you'd have to head north.
Well, the Morplaisy had what you call the Lady Joy. And the Lady Joy, for a long time, that's what people used to travel on.
That is correct, to head to Barbados.
Yeah.
So a lot of the trade that went on of hucksters who were bringing charcoal and bringing provisions and wood, and that was done by that vessel. And I think he was relating how they had to navigate those waters. It was quite interesting in those days because of the sails. And
you see, when you leave St. Lucia going to Barbados, now by the dinner side, there is what you call the canal. And that canal, that's a rough piece of sea.
The channel, well, yeah.
Canal.
So, yes.
Yeah, that's a rough piece of sea.
Yeah, I mean, things have obviously changed. We're using motorized traffic now. But you never. I mean, so, but it still has been a challenge though to be able to address it.
Well, I traveled it as a young man trying to be a seafarer. I traveled several times in and out of Barbados.
Yes.
And those sea there, and I tell you, it is a piece of rough sea there.
Yeah.
Anyway, good afternoon. Have a nice day. Have a nice weekend.
You too, caller. You too.
Okay,
have a good one. All the best. And in fact, well, of course, the number to call in is 4523046. But we actually due for our weather report at this time. So we're going to take that in. Of course, that is brought to you thanks to the assistance of the St. Lucia Met Services.
Island style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. We'll have to make the right choice. Island style, whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island style, oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in Island style.
We have times and things, set pieces and ground. Everything you need is on the outside. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. Quality, price, service, choice. It's all an Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Bellarosa, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Cass Street, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. So call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style, Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
101.1 is now time for your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talamba. The forecast for St. Lucia Valley for the next 24 hours, winds will be blowing from between the east and east-southeast near 20 miles per hour or 31 kilometers per hour. The weather fair and hazy. And there is an advisory in here which reads that persons with respiratory ailments and dust allergies should take the necessary precautions due to reduced air quality. Also, small craft operators and sea bathers are advised to exercise caution due to reduced visibility. The forecast for Little San Angeles, fair to partly cloudy and hazy for a few scattered showers, mainly over the extreme northern portion of the region. And the weather summary, light to moderate easterly to east-southeasterly winds to persist over the eastern Caribbean region during the forecast period. Generally dry and stable conditions are expected across the region during the next 24 hours. However, a few showers are expected to develop mainly over the extreme northern portion of the region from time to time. Also, a plume of Saharan dust haze will cause a reduction in visibility and air quality around the eastern Caribbean region during the forecast period. And this was your weather forecast as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talamba.
This has been RCI's weather news. For more information, call the weather hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Island Style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. We'll have to make the right choice. Island Style, whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island Style, oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in Island Style.
We have times and things, set pieces and ground. Everything you need is on the outside. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. Quality, price, service, choice. It's all an Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Bellarosa, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Cass Street, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. So call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style, Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. We've got about 25 minutes to go before the hour of 2 o'clock. The number to call in is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. And don't forget, you also have that WhatsApp number, which you can reach us on. Want to make mention of an ongoing challenge in terms of international travel, and that is as a result of a fire which occurred at Heathrow Airport in London, and that has certainly caused a significant amount of disruption to global travel. On an annual basis, about nearly 84 million people went through London Heathrow last year. It is, in fact, the fifth busiest airport in the world just by passenger travel, and I think it's high. It's ranked even higher when one looks at international flights, because it is certainly a major international gateway for for everybody who's heading into Europe or heading into Asia, Africa. Lots and lots and lots of flights terminate at London Heathrow, and it is by far one of the busiest. It is the busiest airport in in Europe. In that regard, the only airports that are busier than them than it right now would be like Tokyo, Haneda, as well as Dallas, Fort Worth, and Atlanta's Hartsfield International. Those, in the case of Atlanta and DFW, they will see quite a lot of U.S. internal trips. And Dubai International, also very, very, very important. I think it's the second busiest in the world right now as well. So that has, of course, been a major issue. Most of our flights to UK are actually through London Gatwick, which is London's, you could say smaller airport. And that airport, although we're undergoing some expansion, there's also plans for adding a second runway to London Gatwick. So most of our flights are heading into that airport. So that would not, I don't think, has been impacted. If anything, probably there may very well be some changing of flights heading into it, making it a bit busy, I suspect. That fire being caused by, it's an electrical issue at a substation located at the aerodrome of London Heathrow. And so it's quite telling how sometimes, these single facilities, if something happens, if something goes wrong in one of those places, then it has these ripple effects, which can have, deleterious impacts on the world economy even. So as we're seeing interest in some of these areas, in terms of these ports of entry, this is what, you can see how these things are so very vital to trade and to tourism, travel and tourism. And I think it's going to be closed, according to what has been said, at least until Saturday, and may actually be beyond that. So we have to wait and see what occurs there. Now, of course, as I mentioned, the number to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, it is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. It's also World Home Economics Day. And I think that is being marked by the Castries Comprehensive Secondary School. So kudos to them for doing just that. And pretty important, that subject of home economics. In fact, my mother was a home economist, and it certainly is important in terms of, I guess you could say, management of the first economy. The first economy starts at the household level, and ensuring that it runs right and it runs smoothly is sometimes a pretty complex undertaking. And so, so certainly we do have to recognize the importance of home economics to the society on a whole, and the granular buildup of these matters. I'm seeing our lights blinking, but I'm not sure. Does that mean what's happening with our lines? Or is it that we are? I'm not sure what is going on there. So okay, so sorry about that. We have had the line off. But again, the number is 452-3046. Let's see what's going on here. It looks like we keep on seeing.
Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, we weren't hearing you. Our apologies for that.
No problem. Yeah. Yeah. Just a concern I have at times, contractors, let's say, heavy equipment operators, people who operate backhoes,
Yes.
they are probably given a job to, let's say, clear some land on private property. But then where they have to work actually might border, let's say, close to the main road. And
Right.
in digging, they'll actually make, let's say, damage a Wasco main that's, close to the road.
Mm-hmm.
And then in so doing, they actually disrupt the water supply to the entire community.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just wondering if going forward, if there's a ministry that can actually issue those contractors a permit to work. And before they actually start the work, then let's say Wasco will have to be consulted, Lucille will have to be consulted, let's say the telephone companies,
Mm-hmm.
so that, there's clearance before they actually start the work. And someone from those utilities actually come and have a look at what they're doing. Because I think it's very unfair that, someone, they're doing their work and they, end up, damaging something that, affects the whole community. So there should be some kind of way to regulate, that kind of work.
It is a very important point that you're making. And I guess the reality is that we're so lax, though, in terms of management of development. That's a problem, caller, because land clearance is development, right? And we sometimes allow for these things to happen, or people believe that they could just go ahead and clear large swaths of land, or even if it's a lot, and with the use of a backhoe without any permission, and then what you're saying happens definitely. In fact, sometimes it also sometimes can lead to damaging of the roads. We
Yeah.
see a lot of material just being brought down onto the road surface. Sometimes the road gets part of the road gets blocked. The drains get clogged as a result of it, and which then exacerbates the problem when you have rainfall. So that it's just and one thing leads to the other. So you're very correct. These things should happen, and I think it really is for us to take land development a little bit more seriously when it comes to the process of the monitoring and enforcement. I know that a planning officer, development control officer, building officer cannot be everywhere, and unfortunately, there too, they are probably under resourced in terms of numbers, but they also the need to use technology that is now available is another thing that we need to try to look at. So having
because you could also probably also look at probably some kind of mechanism where probably you might get a permit from the local government authority in your community. You understand? So that you don't actually, let's say you have to go to central government.
Yeah, I think that the challenge is that it's there is a requirement, to get it through the Development Control Authority, but invariably it doesn't happen. That's part of the problem. That's
Yeah.
so it's you see work starting, and then maybe you'll get the application after the fact, or and then sometimes the damage is already done. Yeah, so but there is a requirement for that to happen, that you really should, before you start clearance of land, it's defined as development. Any earth movements is considered development. So
yeah, but in some cases, it's not the entire lot they want to clear. They might just be, let's say, putting up a small wall on that lot, and
yeah,
then dig in, and they actually, do some damage.
that too, but yeah, it still comes to the same thing. I don't know,
Yeah.
because then in any case, I'm not sure that the local government here is designed sufficiently to be able to handle a matter like that either.
Yeah.
So I I think the body still responsible would be the Development Control Authority. I should also point out that this is also where, and it's important for all these entities to be working collaboratively, especially in terms of information sharing. So you have, because of how we separate, we have a water company, we have a electricity company, we have telecoms companies, and for the most part, I think, the one that's perhaps best advanced in terms of their geographical information services systems is that of the electric company. I think the Wasco is coming up, and they're improving theirs as well, and that's really important. But that information has to be not only for their purposes, but also for the purposes of general development. So that has to be shared with the relevant agencies, so you can actually have a coordinated national GIS.
Yep.
And I think there have been some efforts towards that, what is being known as the NSDI, National Spatial Data System that they're developing. But I'm not sure where that is at in terms of actual implementation. So that should capture some of the things that you're talking about. So whether it's drainage information, whether it's utility lines, and all of that should be within that system, so that they can be shared, with the relevant development agencies.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, thanks very much for that.
Brilliant.
That very useful point that you were raising, caller. In fact, it is very telling, because I think even from the perspective, just not too long ago, there was a situation where road construction ended up damaging an electric line, which had implications for the grid. So that is certainly something that we've got to be very mindful of. Good afternoon, welcome to the lunchroom, and what's on your plate today?
Oh, I am terribly sorry. Is this Loops in Lucia, or did I dial the wrong number?
This is St. Lucia. Are you trying to get, where exactly are you trying to get? This is Radio Caribbean International.
Oh, my apologies. I've obviously dialed the wrong number. Sorry.
All right, then. Take care. Have a good one. And, of course, the number to call in is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. If you want to make a contribution to our program today. And we've been speaking a bit of a mixed bag of many different things that are out and about. Somebody did reach out to me, and I probably shouldn't make mention of it, and it has to do with the matter of noise pollution. Not too long ago, we did have residents in the Rodney Bay area coming out to deal with the issue of noise, and I think their concerns stemmed from noise coming out of some bars in the area, and of course the proximity of those bars to residential areas has been no doubt a matter of concern for some time, and we've seen certain steps taken by authorities to try to control it. And of course, I think there's a 2:00 shut off a number of these places, these bars, and places that have outdoor entertainment, or spaces that are not concealed. So that has in fact caused, I believe, the introduction, or at least a discussion on the introduction of some noise regulations, because it does certainly have a real impact. You've got individuals who have who are seniors, who may have difficulty sleeping, who already need their rest, and when you've got noise that is simply just not allowing you to get to bed, of course that could be devastating for individuals' health. Of course, you've also got in families who have babies and toddlers, and that of course also can just be a bit of a nightmare situation. If you can imagine just eventually getting them to sleep, and now they're up crying because of noise disturbance. And so I think we've known some of the hotspots in the past, and we quite often think of the challenge in the Rodney Bay area, because you've got a very high density of bars in close proximity to accommodation, whether it might be hotels as well as private dwellings. The same can be said in the case of Grosley Town, and of course, especially on a Friday night, you've got the street party there, and of course, so that sometimes can be a challenge for people who live in the environs in the vicinity of Dauphin Street and the spillover areas where that street party occurs. But of course, it is a problem that can be faced anywhere, and some residents in the Marisol area have in fact been complaining regarding the matter of the use of a nearby service station where individuals seem to desire to just want to come out and use the premises of that place as their space for gathering and for um, creating a sort of a sound clash, I guess if you want to call it. Maybe not a sound clash, but playing loud music, and that loud music reverberates into the nearby streets and communities, the neighborhood, where, of course, you have individuals who are sleeping. And so it has been raised, of course, and unfortunately, sometimes these matters come up, and we don't often take them as seriously as we should. Because I suppose, especially if you're the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, and you're dealing with homicides, and you're dealing with cases of domestic matters, domestic abuse issues, and violent crime, and all these things seem very, very serious. But and when we have situations in terms of somebody complaining about, well, the noise in the neighborhood, it sometimes may not be taken with the same level of gravitas as perhaps it should be. And so it is important to note that we need to be mindful of these issues. That, of course, you've got individuals who are trying to get some rest, who are trying to get up for the next morning so that they can go out to work. And in some instances, you've got persons who are seniors, older individuals, parents with children, young children. Those are all individuals who can be impacted by this. So it's a matter we've got to think about. Many of us live in valleys, and those valleys may be narrow valleys, and the sound can very easily reverberate within the valleys, especially if people are living even on the high elevations. Sometimes you hear the sound even more because it's a more direct path. So certainly we've got to be mindful of the issue of noise pollution, and the implications that it actually has on the broader society and individuals' well-being. Now, on another matter, of course, there's been quite a lot being discussed on the political front, and with regards to individuals who are putting themselves up for general elections and candidacy in the upcoming poll here in St. Lucia, whenever it may be called. And so, of course, we've been seeing quite a lot of movement, particularly on the part of the opposition, presumably because they don't want to be caught unprepared. And so we've been hearing quite a bit of effort in terms of the announcing of candidates. And that process generally tends to involve individuals being brought on stage, and they're presented to the to the public, and that sort of thing. And we saw a bit of that, I think, sometime back, a couple of weeks back, down in Lakai, when 5 individuals were presented all at once to be candidates for the United Workers' Party, or endorsed candidates for the United Workers' Party. But it appears, though, that there are other individuals who seemingly wanted to also have been part of that, of the United Workers' Party, finding themselves in somewhat of difficulty, I guess, in terms of their candidacy. And so we've been hearing a little bit about that, and seeing some interesting things unravel, and in fact, sometimes unraveling right in front of our eyes as a result of television interviews which are occurring with these people. In some instances, we're being told that individuals they want to be the ones, and they're not. And then we're hearing that, hey, well, you weren't selected, and they're hearing this for the first time, it would appear, in front of live TV. So definitely, it is a matter that is perhaps for some creating some level of comedy and but at the end of it all, I guess we remember much of this come the election time, and that's tends to be the case. Do these things have long-standing implications? Well, if individuals perhaps don't accept the decision, then you sometimes do have people deciding to run independent. Is it going to happen in these instances? Well, of course, we do know the history of independents. They have not generally been very successful in their quest to become elected in here in St. Lucia. Very, very few independents have ever been elected, or people on an independent ticket being elected, I should say. So the chances of going that route may or may not be realistic for a number of individuals. And so I suppose this is why, of course, they would want to see themselves as part of a major political party, one of the two major political parties. Of course, this can impact both sides. Invariably, all parties have to select candidates, and generally speaking, you tend to see the opposition party bringing on newer faces by virtue of the fact that they would have lost more seats in the previous general election, and so they would almost be expected to be bringing in newer faces. But that does not mean that the ruling party should not also be looking to bring on fresh faces as well. And in fact, we've seen that parties that tend to do that tend to be successful. I mean, I think if we look back to Dominica, there was a time when Roosevelt Skerritt, albeit in fact he was looking for another term in office, in fact brought in a majority of the individuals who were in fact brought onto his slate were in fact new candidates. So there is that aspect where the sometimes the electorate is in fact looking for some fresh faces. They are looking for something to that might be a little different, and there is sometimes benefit in this regard. So it is certainly something that all political parties need to look at, and of course to ensure that they judge the performance of the persons who they've put up for representation as well. And it sometimes might be difficult to do that, but parties certainly do need to have that level of objectivity to ensure that their various representatives are in fact have performed and are in fact wanted by the population who has to elect them. And so that is really important. There is certainly an important undertaking that political parties need to, whether through polling, whether through engagement with various community groups, to find out where the community stands, where the constituencies stand in terms of their satisfaction with respect to a candidate. Even if that candidate has already been there, has been elected in the past, that does not necessarily mean that they would be elected or they could be elected again. So you've got to look at these things on their merit and to ensure that in fact our persons are happy and satisfied with the level of representation that they are in fact receiving. So no doubt that'll be something that both opposition and ruling parties at this point will be looking at as they head towards the next general election. Well, that's our program for today. And for the end of the week, we'll be back, of course, next week, Monday, God willing, for another one. And we do hope that you can join us then. But of course, in the meantime, we're asking everybody to please stay safe and have an enjoyable weekend.